Welcome to the Marriage Can Win show. I am your host, Eric, and this is also my wife, Dr. Sakeisha, and we are your relationship experts.
Here at Marriage Can Win, we educate, empower, and encourage couples to embrace that marriage can win when you focus on three key areas: improving your communication skills, developing your money management skills, and enhancing your intimacy skills.
So we invite all of you, and including your family members, to join the show. Share it out. Start a watch party. And just have fun with this broadcast. Also, when you join the show, let us know where you're calling from or where you're viewing from, what city and what state. And if you have any questions, by all means, go ahead and type it into the chat.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter under Marriage Can Win.
Yes. Marriage Can Win. Also, if you're not following us already on the Marriage Can Win show on Facebook, please do so, and we will also follow you back there.
All right, tonight we are super excited. Here at Marriage Can Win, we make sure that we connect you with some dynamic speakers, powerful people that bring a plethora of experience and knowledge to these interviews. Today we have with us Jill Bulluck. She's the founder of the Detour Movement, a faith-based organization, the Dating Prep School, and Healthy Happy Love, which reaches over 10,000 young women in 22 states across the U.S. She's also an Amazon best-selling author. She's been featured in Essence Magazine and The Bravity, Sparefoot blog, and on Bright Radio, WBGR Network, and the 760 The Gospel Radio Show. She's known as the young singles dating coach who helps to prepare and position young professional single women who've been able to get all the pieces of the puzzle of life together except one area, the dating and relationship area. As a result of working with her, women are finding themselves breaking free from toxic relationships and igniting their life by standing and speaking boldly in their truth to becoming the boss of their life by being authentic, courageous, and non-negotiable about the life and the love they desire. And she's also the co-hostess of the annual Be Ye Transform Networks Conference. So everybody, let's welcome Miss Jill Bulluck today. How are you doing, Jill?
Good. Thank you for that amazing introduction. I'm super excited to be here with you guys. You guys are so lovely, so like you say, raw, so genuine. I'm eating this all up. So amazing.
Oh man, well, it is so amazing. I usually ask all of my guests to do this, but I would love for you to just share with our listeners real quick one thing about you that we don't read in bio, something that they need to know about you.
Oh, one thing that you guys need to know about me. Well, I would say actually within the last year, my husband and I actually became legal guardians. So we have, yes, we have our nephew, Caden. He's 9 years old. And so first year will be in July. So he's been with us for about 10 months now.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations. That's exciting. That's exciting.
Definitely changed the dynamics of the house. And honestly, it's given me even greater respect for people who have children, because I can see it's more of a challenge to kind of, manage everything. We got little ones that need time, attention, money, and all that. So it's been a good journey for us, a growing journey for us.
All right. So how are you learning to balance it all? Because now we're transitioning into a new normal. Everything is shut. Well, things are starting to actually open back up now. Right. But, being home for a while, how did that impact the family dynamics?
This is very interesting. Thankfully, we have a lot of space. But I learned really soon after we transitioned many years ago from our apartment to our home that having a lot of space can be a good and a bad thing.
Okay.
It's a good thing because, we all have our little space. I have the office, which I spend most of my time, whether that's, my daytime and in the evening. And then my nephew, he has his room. We're able to set up his room. And my husband, he spends a lot of time in the bedroom. And so we have this good landscape where we have this social distancing is not a problem here, right? However, with that, we all have to be very intentional about turning in to each other and to our relationships. And so I know there's been time where I tell my husband, okay, honey, you're too far, you've got mastered social distancing, you have mastered physical distancing, you need to come back in, and connect. And that's been a big thing, and really a big key word that I've been focusing on for the last several years, and still now today, is schedule. Schedule. I think I should say scheduling. That's really helped, because even when, I'm a super introvert, my husband's a super introvert. So, kind of going off in our own corner is not a problem. So we have to remember to come out of, come out of the food, connect with other human beings. We want to make sure we're engaging and not isolating ourselves. Yes. So the big thing for us absolutely, without a doubt, has been scheduling at least 2 to 3 times a week. We have specific times that we get together. We try to eat dinner together. It's been kind of harder since my husband's changed his diet. Okay. So we got like 3 different diets in the house, really 4 to be honest. Wow. But we do try to sit at, when I do cook, which is a couple times a week, those nights we sit at the table and we talk and connect. We try to use that as an example, a time for us to all, just check in with one another at a minimum.
Okay.
I know on the last show, I know we normally always say that we need to have a date night where you go out. So now I call it the date in, where you need to stay in. Do you have a specific time or day where you can just still have like a set of time or a place where you say, this is our date tonight? Whether it's like you're going to rent on demand or something on Amazon, and maybe set the mood, turn the lights down low or something.
Are you telling me how to have a date?
No, I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
I love it. And thanks for asking. Absolutely. So Wednesday nights is generally our date night, and that's the night that I don't work. And so that's the night that I cook, and then we spend time together. And usually for us, that's always been like a home date for our Wednesday night. We had a floating outside date, so that kind of didn't change, because they call us boring, call us what you want. I don't watch much TV. My husband watches a little more than I, so that's the time we'll binge watch Greenleaf or whatever show we are into at the time. Okay. Sometimes we get a little, on the edge with Scandals and some of the others, but make sure we get the nephew in bed that's critical. We have to get him in bed at the right time, so we then have the rest of the evening to do our own thing. Just the adulting time. So we do that. And we also, and maybe I'm giving too much information, hopefully this is an adult audience, but we also set time for intimacy, for physical connection at a minimum. So if we don't get this done anytime else, this is when this is the time it's designated. It's happening. And so I find when you're really, a goal achiever, when you're a go-getter, having that time is critical. Contrary to all you singles who listening, contrary to popular belief, you don't get married, you're just having like this fest where all you can have. It don't quite happen that way, because a lot of times you're pursuing your goals and your dreams. And if you're a whole person and healed person, and ultimately that is the goal, and we'll get to that when we get to the steps, you want to have a fulfilled life outside of your partner. So you're looking forward to connecting, and you're looking forward to having a good time, but you have a life outside of your partner, and you're going to be doing things that's not all. And even when you're doing ministry together, I'm sure, when you guys are doing ministry, you're not always, the energy and everything else shifts. So sometimes you really have to be intentional about setting that. So yes, we have a date night, and we have set time a couple of times a week that we get together. Some is just for Netflix and chill, and then some is like, okay, this is intentional, we're gonna have a good time.
But you know what, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. We schedule appointments for our jobs because it's important that we show up in those situations. But at the same time, in our marriages, when you're achieving your goals, you're setting appointments, you're being very intentional, very strategic. So it's very important to do the same thing in your private life, in your married life. So that's just for everyone that's listening. It's okay to schedule that time. I mean, the last thing you want to do is for that to be the last on your to-do list, or not even all on your to-do list. That opens up the door for a whole another set of problems. So trust me, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yes, we schedule, honey. Schedule.
Let's be real, relevant, and raw. We got to be able to keep this relationship healthy.
Yeah.
and thriving. So, that's just a part of a healthy relationship.
Yeah. I mean, our kids, it's funny. We have teenagers now. One just graduated from high school and one's he's pretty much a sophomore now. So when we're doing our lives and we're talking and we share, like how we used to be excited when they would go to taekwondo practice every Tuesday and Thursday nights. And they walked in one time when we were doing the live and they go, "You do what when we're gone?" And I'm like, look, we have to be intentional about spending time together.
Right.
When my daughter started driving, could drive them to practice, I'm like, oh, wow, more time. It's better, go drop them off, run back home and run back and pick them up. Now it's like, no, y'all are gone for a while.
Man, I'm so happy that they can drive on their own.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Listen. Yeah, we got to be intentional, extremely.
Now, I read in your bio that you've helped over 10,000 young women across 22 states.
Wow, that's a lot.
What was your aha moment in helping you recognize that this was a part of your calling?
Absolutely. I remember very distinctly when I was in San Diego about 12 years ago, and it's evolved over time. But starting there, I just was coming out of Bible study, Sunday school. And it was very ironic because even though I was raised in the church, we didn't always attend Sunday school. So that was kind of an interesting thing that was even there. And this young man came up to me and he said, "Hey, do you like working with youth?" And I was like, sure, I can work with the youth. You need some bodies? He said, "No, I don't need any bodies. I need some help." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll come help you." And that really was my launch pad into ministry and working with women, young women at that time. And I started helping out with this ministry called Jacob's Well. And so it was for the young girls that was in high school, and we talked to them about purity and various things. And as I was teaching them and I was doing different workshops, I started to want to bring their parents in, because I started to realize that meeting with them once a week for 2 hours was not enough time. And that we gave all this great scriptural things and testimonies and all this great information and bonding and connecting. And then they go back into the real world. And even with their parents who may have had contradictory behavior and beliefs, I'm like, we need to influence their parents, because we need the parents to continue this teaching at home. So we started to do these series of Step It Up workshops. And that really is what kind of got me into it. And I started to realize, okay, I love working with the youth, but I'll be more effective if I can work with your parents. And I started to realize how a broken marriage or a broken home or even absent father was impacting the home and youth in such a major way. And so I decided that me pivoting from youth and young girls into the parents and helping women in this preventative stage, I call it preventative maintenance. Just like when you go to the dentist, they tell you it's always cheaper and easier to go ahead and get your teeth cleaned twice a year. Probably costs you about $200. You good, lost regularly, you're going to be in good shape. And I like to do the same thing with singles. I'm like, okay, before you go and get married and get in the wrong relationship or get in a relationship with somebody that's unsaved or you're unequally yoked, as we know in our faith we say, let's make sure that you get your maintenance. Let's make sure that you have those things in place beforehand, so you can make it easier. The truth of the matter is, a lot of people think that a successful marriage happens after the marriage. And yes, you can do a marriage turnaround, and I believe it can work out that way. But I'm a true believer that the success or failure of a marriage is really determined in singleness. And so those two individuals on their singleness journey, depending on the level that they prepare emotionally, socially, spiritually, financially, that time of incubation is critical for the success of your marriage. A lot of times you want to do things in the moment, but you're pulling on those skills and those concepts and values and beliefs from the time of singleness and practices that you implement at that time, that's then just manifested into your marriage.
Wow, that's true. That is true, because I've found sometimes you have women that feel that, well, once I'm married, I'll be whole. Once I'm married, I'm this and that. You've got to be whole on your own. You've got to be fulfilled on your own. You can't look for someone else to complete you. God has a plan and assignment for you and a plan and assignment for them. And you can't base your assignment on that particular person's actions. So you have to be mindful. And I tell them, enjoy your time while you're single, and make sure that you're confident in who you are, because a lot of times we bring past hurts, past pains into relationships, feeling that this relationship is going to fix it. If I get this type of husband, I'll fix it. If I get this type of car, if I live in this house. And all of those, those are just like temporary Band-Aids covering the situation, when you need to rip that Band-Aid off, get some surgery done, get it healed, and then move forward into a relationship.
Don't want to bring the past baggages into the relationship, because
holding someone else accountable.
The other person doesn't want to carry all that extra baggage.
Wow. So when you're working with a lot of these young women, what would you say is one of your greatest forms of advice that you would give women that want to have that healthy relationship that they so desire?
That's a fully loaded question, but I'll keep it clean, because one of the things, and you guys want to grab a pen if you haven't already, because you need to write this down. This is going to save you so much headache. You can cash at me later, but listen, get a pen, get a paper right now, because you want to take this down. And it's really simply, there's a couple things, but you said one, so I'm gonna say one. If you give me more, I'll say more. It's really asking a question, and that question is, when you're out, somebody, dating, first conversation, this question needs to be asked, which is, what is your intention in a dating relationship right now?
Oh.
A lot of times we're not communicating what we want, and not clear on what we want and what we expect from the other person. And too often we have this, you may have had this, I'm talking to the singles that's listening, like you may have had this concept that, I'm just going to go along to get along, just going to see what happens. All of that is wrong mindset. That's not going to support you in your goals. So you have to be very intentional to find out, what is the motive of this other person. And the truth be told, most people are very honest. And even talking to the women, men tend to be very honest. And I believe, women are too. So go ahead, let's get that out on the table. It's no need for us to, you're not going to woo him to marry you. And the same thing for the man. It's like, let's just put that out on the table first and foremost. What is the intentions here? What is our goals? If your goal is to Netflix and chill, okay, then that may not be the relationship for me. And I say that question is so critical, because if you ask that question, you don't have to wait 3, 6, 9, 12 months to figure out somebody's agenda. I've had people talk about being in relationships for 8 years, thinking because the person treated them like a partner and treated them as if the relationship was going somewhere. And the whole time they was like, no, I told you on day one that this is going to be a physical relationship, a sexual relationship. You decided to continue to pursue it. Now you think because we've been around for 8 years, you think I want to marry you. No, I told you day one. You just interpreted my behavior as something else. And so I always say you got to listen to not only the words are important, so listen to those, but also the behavior. And it should be congruent. And you should learn to trust what's congruent and distrust what's incongruent. And so when you have that alignment in what they're saying and what they're doing, now we're working with something. The moment that those things are out of whack, you're going down the wrong road, and we need to turn around. We don't even talk about red flags. That's a stop sign. We need to get off the bus. Tell them to let you off on the next stop. You got to get off.
That's awesome. You're reading my mind, because I was saying, what? That's a huge red flags. And then how many times out there? And if you're listening to it either live or replay, make sure you put that in the chat box if you're listening to the replay. But you've ignored the red flags. We've all done that. When on your journey to finding healthy, happy love, there are red flags that are right in front of you. But sometimes we tend to it's red, and you kind of look the other way. No, thinking it's still red.
Change that person.
Or
things will get better if I can get them to commit.
Yeah, and then we feel like this is the one. You can't force that person to be the one.
Right.
And I would honestly rather go ahead and deal with that now. You recognize this is a red flag, and keep moving. But they're kind of like you said, they've invested 8 years, and they're kind of like, well, you want to marry me now? No, it's been 8 years, It's, I would just,
That's just kind of the wrong road. Just like when you come there, it says do not enter. It's a sign automatically saying that. When you try to say that you just want to have a physical relationship, there's a TV show called Between Friends, right? Or Friends with Benefits, something like that.
Which one?
With Ashton Kutcher and
yeah.
So it's like you go in saying, yeah, right, it's just going to be a physical thing and that's it, and it turns into more one of the people, if not both.
So for your clients that you're working with, are there any boundaries that you suggest they establish? Because if there's a lot of times, and especially in this day and age, there's a pressure to launch into a physical relationship. And I think this quarantine time is awesome because you can't really physically connect with someone. You have to talk to them. You got to really get to know them. And when it's transformed, I guess I'm telling my age, before when we were in school, you would get to know them, you date them, you walk into the car, you meet the parents. Now it's like sexting, it's, all kinds of stuff, totally different. So what impact is that pressure to become physical been, with your clients? How do you address that?
Absolutely. And I know firsthand about that pressure. That's a big part of my story and even a big part of my why, especially that got me to focus in on the relationship aspect of things. And so there's absolutely boundaries that you need to establish. But the biggest thing I can tell you is that you have to establish those boundaries before you even go on a date. I remember, and this what actually led me to write my book, Sex the Single, How to Be Sexless in a Sexual World, is I received an inbox from a young lady and she says, how do you, once you already are making out and kissing and you start to get a little hot and bothered, how do you stop yourself from going all the way? And I just wanted to cover my eyes and shrink in a hole. It's like, oh my God, she doesn't get it at all. You're already, that's like, think about it when you're in a restaurant, you want an appetizer, right? You have appetizer, then you have the main entree. Well, that foreplay, kissing, hugging, that's all your appetizer. And usually when you get appetizer, you only getting the appetizer because you're super hungry. You want to make the main entree. So you get an appetizer just to keep you, maintained until a main entree comes out. And that's the same thing in our dating relationships. And it's like in those moments, you don't allow yourself to go down there with all that physical touching and kissing and hugging. I love what this one young lady says. Heather Lindsay, she shared about her story of how her husband waited till they kissed at the altar. Now, me and my husband, for a long time, we didn't have any kissing, hugging, In the moment that we started to cross that line, we soon found how hard it was. It was easier as long as don't kiss me, I don't kiss you. Keep your hands to yourself, Wow. But the moment, it was like 6 months in, we started to kind of, I know I want to be with you. I know I want to be with you. And it became harder and harder. And when we had to even reset, because we ended up having sex prematurely before we got married, we had to reset. It was like, okay, we need to decide this. We can't say, because we think we're going to, but we didn't know because we wasn't even engaged at the time. But we thought strongly that we were going to be together. That was okay. And I had to reset. He had to reset. He actually went on sabbatical and fasted. And I did my own thing to reconnect with God and say, okay, hold on, I need to reset. Because you got to establish that before you even go on a date. And you have to establish it that you're going to wait till marriage. I think oftentimes, myself included, sometimes we're like, until I meet the one. That's not the same thing as marriage. And honestly, in my own story, if I can be just very transparent, I believe us prematurely getting into a sexual relationship actually almost caused us our relationship. It was this close to causing us our relationship, because the truth of the matter is, one, it caused them and myself to question it kind of caused you to question your own identity of who you're saying you are. And from his standpoint, or the other person's standpoint, you're saying that you're a Christian, you're saying that you're a believer, you're saying that you love God, but you're not being obedient and you're not following him. And what I found in my journey, really when I started to submit to God, listen, I was dating for a long time. I know I look young. I've been married for about 8 years now, right? 8 years. However, I dated for at least 15 years of my life, right? And in those 15 years, I had a lot of lessons learned. And I tell you, I didn't start to get any traction in my dating life and relationships. I mean, I was dating a lot of people, was looking good, it was fine, football players, NFL, all this good stuff. engineers, all the accolades, all that was there, but I wasn't getting any traction. I wasn't getting any meaningful connection until I started to surrender and submit to God and say, you know what, God, this ain't even working. Like this ain't even, I'm pleasing everybody else. I'm doing I'm performing to the patterns of this world and doing what other people want me to do. And I'm still not getting what I want. This is not working. This is no deal.
So that sounds good. But now let's look at the source of this now. Now, individuals won't understand or even know to try to not have sex or to have a life without sex unless they get it from their parents. Now, if their parents don't have an inclination about being sexless until marriage, how are we going to go about changing the way society views premarital sex or saving yourself until you get married? Because that's the norm right now, is to have sex. I mean, we listen to what's going on with these teenagers now, and they may say, okay, well, you don't want to have the actual physical sex, but then they do the oral sex.
Yeah.
And they don't think there's anything wrong with it. But, it has to, those morals or standards have to come from somewhere. And so, a lot of times we need to teach the individuals, but it seems like more that parents need to have some kind of education on about the proper way of training your teenagers and, before, you start dating, not to have sex until you get married. I mean, that's just not
a good point. That's a good point, and I think that's a really good question of where they get the value from. And I do believe that at home is a great place to get it, but so many people are not. And so what I would say is take a minute to reflect. Because what I found out, and I'm speaking to the men, women, single and married, let me be clear. So if you're married, hopefully you're still tuning in, and this is for you, all of the above. Let me say this. When it comes to that value, you have to ask yourself, why? Why am I having sex? When you start to really do some soul searching, when you start to do what I don't know, you call it meditation, call it what you want, when you start to take a step back and reflect on that 3-letter word, why? Oftentimes, you'll find that the motivation behind your behavior is toxic. And it's one that's not going to serve you long time. What you often find is that you're trying to medicate, you're trying to use a temporary solution, which is that sexual engagement, which come on now, sometimes it only lasts 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, if you real lucky, so you're trying to use this temporary situation to fulfill a long-term need. And the truth of the matter is, we all were created relationally. Right. And being created relationally, we yearn for relationships, but because we come oftentimes from broken relationships with parents, we take that pain into the world and we try to connect with people with our pain. So with that being said, if you look at your why, for women, oftentimes that why is usually driven by people pleasing, usually driven by the fear of rejection. Your father was, maybe he was there, but maybe he was emotionally unavailable. Maybe he was married to your mom, but maybe he was physically absent. And even maybe you didn't have a dad. Maybe your parents, one of both parents were incarcerated. One of both parents dealt with a mental illness. One of both parents dealt with a drug addiction. So in any of these cases, that caused that parent not to be there for you. So now the behavior is like, that person wasn't there for me. Subconscious is happening. So examine your why. Women, men, you guys tend to use your hurt and use it to say, okay, try to pull this wall and learning only to feel above the neck and below the waist. And so you learn to express anger, right, and aggression because you've been told, oh, don't cry. Why are you crying? Stop by crying. And you're learning not to express your emotions in a healthy way. So you have all this balled up. And then somebody, usually along the way or somewhere, encourage you to pull your royal oaks and to live your life in a sexual way. And so then now you start to pursue sex as a means to feel better and to express emotion and aggression, because that's the only time, right, that is appropriate in most instances. So I would say, that's a long way to say, look at your why and really examine that and decide, are you doing it because it's really something you truly, enjoy and really want to do, or is it a lot of pain and hurt that's you're masking? And I think you said it earlier, like trying to mask that with a Band-Aid versus really allowing that thing to heal.
Yeah.
When we're getting a comment from one of our listeners or viewers, they're saying, well, a lot of men refuse to date me because I'm waiting for marriage. I tell them, bye-bye, too risky nowadays. And so I guess that they're saying that, women are like, well, hey, if I'm not going to give up sex or have any kind of sexual, men don't want to date me. They don't want to have, because that's what men want. So what do you say to women that are having that issue?
Absolutely. I got a couple of things to say. One, I will say is a time for everything. There's a time to live, right? There's a time to die. There's a time for everything underneath the sun. So I say that to say there's also a time to disclose your commitment. And to me, that shouldn't be, I meet you, hey, how you doing? Okay, I'm abstaining for God and I ain't having sex, just letting you know. That's not the time.
Right.
That is not the time, right? I would say, have that exchange. You definitely want to have that exchange. I would say usually within the first 2 to 4 weeks. You know what? I got to go back to you because you asked about boundaries, so it's really important. Let me throw this in here. Within the first 2 to 4 weeks, but in that time, in any time, you're not having house dates. You're minimizing the physical touching. Even when you are abstaining, even the clenching of holding hands can be such an intimate touch, especially because you haven't touched someone in so long. So that can be very arousing, I learned. Right? I learned that. You thinking holding hands ain't nothing, but I was like, that's the best hand I ever held in my life. You know what I'm saying? So you be careful about that. So to answer your question, one, know the timing, engage in conversation, sincerely, be genuinely interested in the other person, learning more about them, engage in that conversation and their interest. Eventually it's going to come out, but you don't need to force it or just vomit on them about your whole surrender to God and all this other stuff. You don't necessarily need to do that. Now, I would say after you've established, because really 3 to 4 weeks of talking to somebody is a really long time if you're being intentional and you're asking specific strategic questions in your dating life. And so with that being said, at that 3 to 4 weeks time, that conversation usually comes up. And so then that's the time to have that conversation. You've already had a time to establish, you've already found out what his or her agenda was, what's your intentions in a dating relationship we're announcing. You already know this person is dating with the purpose of marriage. So you already have some commonalities. Let me just be honest. It seems to be a trend, and I'm kind of giving a stereotype here, but I believe statistics follow this. Women sometimes tend to be more in the church and more, just a little more than the guys, what I see in the overall. It's looking at the general population of the church. But what I do know is that there are a lot of men in church and a lot of men who are connected to God. They just may not be where you are. They may have a different perspective. They may not have gotten to the point where they're willing to abstain. And what I find though, if they connect with you and they like you, men will be willing to do that. And matter of fact, they'll respect you to do that. And I'll even tell you this one story. Now, I think this is an interesting story. I hope this is not your story, because I truly believe the best situation for you is somebody that can lead you spiritually. But even if, especially for the women, you want somebody to lead you. Men, you're doing the leading. But even if you don't connect with a man that can lead you spiritually, doesn't mean that he can't be an effective leader of the home. Okay? So let me say that. And so if you connect with somebody who maybe you guys at the same level spiritually, or you may be a little ahead of where he is, you guys still can have an effective relationship. And like I said, I believe he will concede. Let me say this. I want to share a story really quick. This guy was telling me about his friend was dating this woman. Actually, he was dating a couple women. And one of the women that he was dating was like, okay, well, I'm dating you. You can date other people if you want to, but I'm only dating you. And she was like, and oh, by the way, I'm not having sex with you. I like you. I think you're cool, but I'm waiting to have sex. I'm waiting until I'm married. And so the guy was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead out and date these other women. And I'm going to be dating you too. I'm just going to be honest. So we're just going to go from here. Well, lo and behold, guess who ended up being booed up? And guess who ended up marrying? The woman who was abstaining. Because men like to see women that distinguishing themselves. They don't want something that's the same old. Guys, let me know if I'm telling the truth or if I'm not telling the truth. They want that way, some way you're differentiating yourself from the other women. They don't want to feel like you're just like every other woman. What are you doing to differentiate yourself? And you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourself, because we have to remember, for the woman that's watching this broadcast, you are the prize. Yes. You are the prize. Let's not get that confused.
Right.
And so that's what I would say. One, the timing of you putting that out there, one. And two, when you connect with somebody who has a similar vision and who's into you, they'll make that sacrifice. And for those who do not, you know that they are not for you and they just want a sexual relationship. Because tell me, come on. Any man can wait 3, 6, 12 months. Do what you got to do if you got to do. Whatever you got to do, that's between you and God and you. You God and yourself. Do what you got to do. But for me and my house, for me and my people, this is what I'm going to do. And I actually want to say, when I did tell my husband, which was about a month into our dating, that I was abstaining, he was relieved. And I was shocked because I was scared. I'm telling you, my teeth was chattering, my knees were knocking, because I dealt with the fear of rejection and I dealt with the fear of abandonment. So I'm like, oh my God, I like this guy so much. I don't know what he gonna say. I hope you don't be like, girl, bye, like, you know. And so I told him, and guess what? He was relieved. Why was he relieved? He was relieved that I wasn't going to be another chick trying to jump his bones.
Wow.
Now, where did he get those type of morals or those types of standards?
Now, my husband, oh Lord, I don't know. I do know, but I'm trying not to be. I'm trying to be humble in this moment. I'm really grateful for my husband's father, who I call Pop, because he was one of these men who had a dad in their life, and so he grew up with a certain type of standards and a certain type of morals. And so that not necessarily, it doesn't, I will say in my experience, it doesn't necessarily come a dime a dozen. However, what I will say is, I know he's not the only one, and I definitely know that other men, even if they're not relieved, they may not have that response, they can at least at a minimum respect. Right. And I believe that's where most men will respond, at the level of respecting it. You know what I mean? And go from there.
Wow. And I think that's awesome. And that should serve as a source of encouragement to the women out there that are desiring to date, or they're concerned about being rejected. They're allowing fear to step in. But when you set a boundary and you hold fast to that boundary, that says something about you as a person. And the right man should understand that. So if you're fearful, if you feel like I got to have sex to keep him, so let's like you said, let's reevaluate the why. If the only way to keep him is to have sex, then what about the rest of you? Right. That means he has no concern about the rest of you. So that's a way to evaluate the situation. So for those listeners that are saying, they're concerned about that, here's some comfort, some encouragement that you're on the right path and to keep going. And I'm not trying to judge anybody that hasn't. So let me put that disclaimer out there. I'm not there to judge anybody, right. But it's something, just a source of encouragement. You made that decision and you should stick to it.
Now let's open this up. Now, we had a good comment out there earlier. So all you viewers, please do go ahead and type your questions or your comments into the chat. Mm-hmm. Also, let us know where you're from. I didn't see anyone that let us know. We want to know your city and state, and also some of your questions and comments. And we can pin it up onto the actual desktop so it can be seen, and where we can address your question.
And for the listeners, as you came in, of course it's on the screen, but just a reminder, text the word WIN, WIN, to 407-258-1246 for your free ebook download. Sometimes we get so into the interviews, and then we think about it later on. Oh shucks, I forgot to tell them about the free gift, because these conversations, interviews are so good. It's like we're going, and then I'm like, it's over with. But while they're entering their questions, we were going to be talking about keeping healthy, happy love God's way. So do you want to go ahead and take us into the steps or the strategies that you have in order for the professional women to accomplish this goal?
Absolutely. Now, I have technically 7. I can mix it into 5. Is it okay if I share 7, or you need to combine it to 5? Okay. So again, grab your pens, grab your paper, as my girl Nicole likes to say. because I want you to take notes. The first thing I want to say is you have to take a moment to detox. That means let go of the past, of things that's the past, pain, hurt, all of that. You got to let it go. Let go of the pain, let go of even false promises. Let's talk about that really quick, each one of those. So when I say the pain, that can be if you've been hurt. I talked about different cases where you could have experienced a level of abandonment or a level of rejection. The truth of the matter is, if you watching this broadcast and you're a human, you have experienced rejection. You have experienced abandonment. Guess what? It comes with life. However, the level and depth of that wound is different for everyone. And having a parent that maybe like myself, who passed away when I was in 9th grade, and losing my father at that point is a lot different than a child who's abandoned from birth. So the level and depth of that is different. So you have to take some time and let that go and release it. False promises. Sometimes you have people growing up, I'm sure you've had people who said things to you that was less than favorable. You know, they may have said you came from the wrong neighborhood, you're too dark, you're too light, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too this, you're too that, you'll never amount to anything. Whatever that case may be, you have these false promises that's lurking, and it's like a recording playing in your mind. You need to release that and let it go. Release it and let it go. And you guys let me know if you just want me to go straight through the whole 7. And if you do, I definitely can do that. The next thing is, the next thing is preparation. In that preparation journey, that you absolutely have to spend time getting whole and getting healed. This is you deciding that you're not going to look to other people to fill your cup. You're looking to God to fill your cup. The word of God says that my cup runs over, right? Your only way that your cup can run over is that it has to be full to the brim, to the point that extra is coming. And so the word also says that a man cannot live by bread alone. Why does God say you can't live by bread alone? But by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. So in that, he's telling us that we need the word. We need to connect with God to fill us and make us whole. God says that he will be the father to the fatherless, right? So we have to allow God to come in and heal those wounds of hurt and pain from our past, okay? The next thing is, and actually, I didn't mention forgiveness, but that's part of number 1. In that number 1 step, when you're healing and letting go of the lies, the false promise, and the pains, you absolutely, part of that letting go is forgiveness. And you have to forgive not only from a head part, oh, I forgive you. Oh, in my head, I forgive you. But you have to forgive in a heart space. The heart space is saying, you know what? I'm going to have compassion. I'm going to have grace. I'm going to have favor. Just as God has had for you, you have to extend that to others. And listen, the word talks about if you don't do that for other people, God's not going to do it for you. So it's a prerequisite. So it's in your best interest. It's in your best interest to go ahead and forgive those who violated you. Take it as this. I love to say, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. They know not the pain they cause you. And what I know to be true is in 100% of the cases, people that hurt other people have been hurt themselves.
Right.
To different degrees, different levels. Maybe it doesn't look the same, but people don't abuse other people who haven't been abused. It's just they don't see that. It's always, people that generally abuse people have had some level of abuse themselves. Okay, so getting to, I told you number 1, number 2 was preparation, wholeness, healing. Number 3 is clarity on your life vision and your purpose. Come on. Imagine hopefully you would not get in your car and go somewhere you've never been without your GPS or with some type of road map. You would not get into a car, especially with somebody else, not knowing where they're going, unless you're surprising you with something. Generally, we're not going to do that. And so you don't want to enter into this union called marriage with somebody and not have an idea of where they're going or where you want to go. So you have to ask God, Lord, remove the scales off my eyes so I can see. God, reveal to me the vision and purpose and plan you have for my life. Lord, fill it in my spirit. Make it plain to me, God. And then, Lord, let me write that vision and make it plain. So when I read it, I can go run with that thing. Yeah. So you want to have clarity on that. You want to have clarity on your purpose. The other day I came up and people were asking me, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my purpose? It's threefold. For your purpose, you look at 3 areas. Look at your passion and write down 3 things that you're extremely passionate about. Then you take some minute and write down your areas of pain, right? 3 areas that you've had the greatest level of pain. And then write out your pleasures, 3 areas of greatest level of pleasure. If you find one thing that echoes in every 3 area, that is your sweet spot, and that is the place of your purpose. Okay, so that's absolutely be clear on your purpose. Number 4, show up and have a level of self and social awareness. This is matters of maturity. I always say I love God. You guys heard me make several biblical and scriptural references. I was that kid that was, at 9 years old, I got baptized, and my mom actually had all my sisters baptized at that time. So yes, I'm church. With that being said, what I know without a shadow of a doubt is that spiritual growth in and of itself is not enough to equip you for marriage. I'm not taking anything away from God. I'm not taking anything away from the kingdom. No, God alone is enough for you to live a whole life. Absolutely. But when we're talking about bringing yourself under the umbrella with somebody else in a union called marriage, not only do you need spiritual maturity, you need social maturity, you need emotional maturity, you need financial maturity, you need mental maturity. So there's different modalities of life that you have to grow up. So what I want you to do here is show up and show out by being self-aware and being socially aware. How do you see yourself, and how are other people perceiving you? And is the way that people perceiving you consistent with how you want to be perceived? Number 5, understand the dating process. I heard Dr. Matthew Stevenson said once, dating is academic. Dating is academic. But you know what? I haven't been to many colleges and universities where you can go and learn dating, or you can go and learn relationships, or how to find love, or how to find your soulmate, or whatever the case may be. It's not taught. It's through coaches like myself and like these great hosts to the show that teaches you how to prepare and have a successful marriage. And so understand, I can't go over the whole process today, but understand in that process, it begins with friendship. Yes. Sometimes we get so caught up in everything else. How much money, how much this, how much that. Slow down. Do I like this person? Yeah. Are they a human being? Can we establish a friendship? Can I be genuinely interested in your life purpose, goals, and plans, and support you right there? Okay? The last 2 things I'm going to say is get into position. Get in position, okay? Listen, I love what my mentor says, Dr. Cindy Trim. And she says, listen, if just like on the football field, right? If there was quarterback. If there was a quarterback about to throw the ball, the quarterback do not throw the ball to the wide receiver at the, or to the, no, they don't throw the ball there. The quarterback throw the ball to a specific position. And then the receiver has to get to the ball into that position to catch it, right? And so that's the same thing with us. You have to, women of God, you have to get into position. Then you need to be in position already, right? And you're in that position of leadership, and you're ready, and you're out there scouting and looking for your good thing. Got it. Yes. But for the women, you have to get into that position of where you need to be in order to be found. Because really, this is unprecedented times, but in normal times, just going from church to home and work to home, you're limiting your exposure and you're limiting your options, okay? And we don't want to do that in these times, in these seasons. There's no need to limit your options. Take advantage of all your options and date widely. Date widely. Okay, that's another conversation. Lastly, but definitely not least, being intentional.
Yes.
If you don't get nothing else on this broadcast, please do not. How many of y'all out there play spades? Y'all some spades players? I don't know about y'all. I'm a spades player. Me and my sister. Okay, we got a couple. We are. I call myself a queen of spades. Okay, and so in spades, listen. There's a thing called blind, where if you fall behind, then they can say, "Oh, you want to go blind so you can catch up." I'd be like, I do not want to go blind, because it'd be the one time you go blind, you got 4 books versus the 6 that you need to, whatever the case may be. You don't get enough books, and it just causes you to go deeper in a hole. So I always tell singles, please do not go out in these streets dating blind. Be intentional. Be absolutely, unequivocally intentional about your questions, about how you show up, about your healing. Just be intentional about what books you read, about what coaches you work with. Be intentional. It's worth too much. I often say it's so easy to spend more money planning and time planning your vacation, planning where you're going to go to school, and not planning who you're going to spend the rest of your life with.
Right.
So do me, you, and us, and your future children and your current children a huge favor. Be intentional.
Absolutely. Wow. That was powerful. That is something. Those are like some serious tips. So she told you in advance, she hoped you had your pen and your paper ready.
Exactly.
So make sure you took notes or you watched the replay.
I was going to say, get the replay.
That's powerful
Yes.
because, there are some things. It's amazing. Like you said, we plan for our jobs. We plan for so many things, but then we plan for a wedding for a day, but not for a marriage to last a lifetime. We'll invest in personal development, help take us to the next level in our businesses. But then when it comes to your marriages, you kind of want to wing it or just call your best friend, not recognizing your best friend may not be the person that's qualified to speak into your marriage, especially if they've been divorced 3-4 times, and it's not throwing shade and it's not judging anybody, but you like you said, you have to be intentional. Be mindful who's speaking into your ear in regards to your relationship. Do they have experience, and what kind of experience are they bringing? Is it positive to help you grow, or is it all negative? So that's just seriously powerful. Now, I know we did talk a little bit at the beginning that we did mention that you're a best-selling author. Can you take a moment and just share with our listeners about the books that you have available?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for having me today. So this is one of my favorite. I have a couple favorite, but this is my favorite. Can you see that? Sexless Single, How to Be Sexless in a Sexful World. This cover is actually, this photo is from my husband. And I love this book because I have several featured authors in this book, and they all share their journey of abstaining, and everybody's journey is different. And so you can grab a copy of this. Well, actually, you can just inbox me on Facebook. I have about 10 copies of this, or you can grab it from Amazon. Either way works, because I really haven't been going out due to the current situation. But I do have them to mail, and I will mail it if you order a copy of this book, Sexless Single, How to Be Sexless in the Sexual World. It's amazing. I said, here's what you will get out of this book: how to stay out of the sex zone while dating, how to bounce back from a fall and tame the beast called your flesh, mastering sexless dating, mate selection process so you make the right choice. The other book that I have is, this one was anthology, Be Transformed, The Ultimate Guide for Real Relevant Relational Change to Elevate Your Life. A foreword by Trevor Ott. Listen, this is good. The foreword alone will blow your mind, but the whole book the whole book is delicious, and you'll eat it up. Most people read both of these books. This book people read less than a couple hours. This book usually a couple hours or over a weekend. And then lastly, but definitely not least, is The Biggest Lies Women Believe About Men Dating Themselves, Discovering the Truth of a Fabulous Life and Fabulous Relationship. This is actually the book that I received the Amazon bestseller on. And if you're dealing with mindset, kind of trying to love yourself and figure out where you are, who you are, and trying to get clarity about what's true versus the lies, this is a good place to start. I don't have any copies of this, but you can get this on Amazon. The other two you can get from me. And you can get it. My website, I think the best way to reach me is on social media at Jill Bulluck. My last name is Bulluck. You also can go to my website, and hopefully I'm not jumping the gun here, at JalitaBulluck.com and connect with me there.
Okay, awesome. So what is next for Jill Bulluck? You've helped over 10,000 women. You got these amazing books. What is next for Jill?
The amazing question. Really what's next for me is retreat, and specifically the Queen Esther experience. Now, many of you have heard of Queen Esther. Queen Esther was an amazing woman of God who actually was an orphan, and she was raised by her uncle Malachi, and she went in for the running to be the queen. And so she went through this extensive preparation process So I want to take some queens on a journey to, prepare for marriage on an intense 3-night, 4-day trip outside the country. And I want us just to take that time to prepare. I'm going to be bringing some of my amazing friends to support this journey. I'm checking with you guys to see if you guys are available and able to join us. I haven't solidified the date. Right now it's like February, March, but I'm looking forward to the Queen Esther experience. It's been a vision that I have for a long time. And it's going to be an intimate group of 10, 15 women. And you're going to be doing the work. You hear people say that all the time. When you walk in there and when you walk out, you will absolutely never be the same. And my goal is for you to maintain that posture that you gained during that experience from learning from me and some of my expert friends, like some of the amazing people that's here tonight. Listen, it's going to be delicious. Yum, yum.
Ooh, all right. So I want to make sure that you guys have her contact information. And you said they could reach you at jillbulluck.com.
Yes.
Right. So definitely make sure you stay connected with her. She's talked about a lot of her amazing books. And I read the Be Ye Transformed. The other one, I couldn't get the complete title. I don't want to butcher it. Can I have you repeat the name of that book again?
Sexless Single, How to Be Sexless in a Sexual World. And also I mentioned the biggest lies women believe about men dating in themselves, discovering the truth to a fabulous life and a fabulous relationship.
There you go.
All right. Wow.
All right. So before we close out, can you take like 1 or 2 minutes and just share how your clients or how the professional women can position themselves so that when they get married, their marriage can win?
And also that they can contact you, some ways to contact you.
Okay.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Okay, absolutely. So how do you position yourself to win in your marriage? Well, follow those 7 steps that I gave you for sure. Spend time connecting with the Father. There's nothing that can substitute that. So you want to have that time. We talked about setting the boundaries. Do that. Even with calling, you don't want to be talking to 2 in the morning all the time. No, let's cut that off. Let's have some boundaries. So the first being that you connect with is God in the morning, and the last being and the last person you're connecting with is God. So you want to have those boundaries in place. I'm an advocate of the list. People make jokes of the list, but the list is not so much to oppress upon some unrealistic, materialistic standards, but it's for clarity. And clarity is everything. Because once you have clarity of what you want and you're writing the vision and making it plain, now you're operating in a place where, you're operating and asking and shall be given, knocking the door shall be open. Now you're starting to operate in the promises, the principles and promises of God, right? And that thing can come. So a man thinketh, so is he. So when you start to manifest and write out these things, that's really key. When you're doing that list, it's not about, 6 feet tall or whatever, she's big booty, breasts, all that. No, we're not doing that. Character-based standards. Character-based standards. And so I would say, you guys, you absolutely have to get this free resource that I have for you. It's 3 live streams. If you enjoyed this even a little bit, you're absolutely going to love my 3 live stream videos. You can get it at my website at jillbulluck.com. Now be careful because you can easily spell my name. I have no O in my last name. It's Jill Bulluck, like Lucky, BULLUCK.com. You go there right in smack dab in the middle of the website. You can go ahead and sign in and get the 3 live streams. They'll be emailed directly to you. You're going to love it and enjoy those broadcasts, those trainings, and then go from there. And so if you wanted to email me or otherwise maybe set up a call with me, you can at info@jillbulluck.com. info@jillbulluck.com. I just want to say thanks so much, you guys, for having me. Every time I do an interview, it reminds me how much I love doing interviews. And I'm just really honored that you guys considered me and have me and share your platform. I absolutely do not take it lightly. And hopefully I can find exactly where it is so I can also send a replay to my community and share it in my Facebook group. And so we can reach as many people as possible. So thank you. Love you guys. Stay beautiful.
Of course. Yes, as you see below, the web address is jillbulluck.com. And then she's also said info@jillbulluck.com.
So we want to thank you so much for just taking the time out to pour into the listeners, to pour into the community, because it's really important. You know, we're focused on helping couples save their marriages, but you want to make sure that they pick the right person to get married so their marriage can win. So it's really, really important. Those 7 steps are really, really instrumental. So if you make sure you've taken notes. If you didn't get all the notes, go back and watch the replay. And also for those of you that may be watching this video, and if you're married and if you're struggling, you're having some challenges, we are releasing a book. It's called Struggling to Keep the Vows. We are doing our pre-orders right now. So you can go to this website, Sakeisha.strugglingtokkeepthevowsbook.com. For the first 20 people that pre-order the book, they will be included in the book. So we're super excited. I think we have maybe a few more spaces for that.
More spaces.
But it's
we will
really,
be acknowledging you in the book.
Your business and lots of other information. But again, super duper thank you to Jill. Make sure you stay connected to her. Make sure you share this replay out. Invite your friends and your family. We're usually here on we're normally Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. on the Love Radio Network. But
actually tonight we will be.
Actually tonight at 9 o'clock we'll be on the Love Radio Network. But we just think it's really, really important that in this day of age, we have a solid foundation in which to build our relationships upon. So we connect with dynamic speakers like Jill to continue to pour into you. So we thank you so much for joining us this evening. At 9 o'clock, tune in to Love Radio Network, which is LUV.
Yes.
And for more information, we'll be talking about marriage and mental health. So this, in honor of Mental Health Month, we're going to be talking about, can your mental health be impacting your marriage, and vice versa, can your marriage be impacting your mental health? All right. Thank you again, Jill. Thank you again to all of our listeners, and I am sure that you were blessed, and we look forward to talking to you soon. And this Wednesday night, we'll be back with the upgraders. We'll be talking about upgrading your mindset for marriage. So we've got a lot going on. And don't forget to join us Thursday night for the Winning Wives Pray Call. We have Tasha Campbell joining us, and we'll be talking about getting unstuck in this season. So it's going to be a power-packed week.
Yes, it will.
All right. So thank you guys again. And we'll be looking forward to speaking with you soon. Don't forget. Go ahead.
You be the change that you want to see in your relationship.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Hold on.
We want to thank you for joining us today on our broadcast.
Let's keep the conversation going. You can connect with us via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or subscribe to our YouTube channel under Marriage Can Win.
Also, you can join us 24/7 on our Marriage Can Win podcast at www.themarriagecanwinshow.com, and also connect to us at marriagescanwin.com.
Remember, you can be the change you want to see in your relationship. Until next time, see you soon.